In this movie, we look at how we can control additional decorations associated with our text. And to do that, we use the text decoration property to control such information. The text decoration property has a number of different options available, including underline, overline, line through, blink, and none. Now, underline will actually put a line underneath our selection. This is most commonly demonstrated with our standard default links. So all of our links have a line underneath it, have this text decoration of underline by default. Next, we have overline. Overline is the opposite of underline in that a line will appear above the text. Line through is going to place that line in the middle of our text so that it looks like we are striking through that text. Now, if you note here, line through in the slide is on two separate lines and there's a dash. Well, that dash is actually part of it, so it's line dash through if you're going to use this. Then we have our blink. And blink is going to make it so that our text will flash off and on the screen. So in effect, blinking. And then our last text decoration is none, which will remove any text decoration that is either inherited or there by default. With our text decoration, we can set up multiple declarations so that we can have multiple properties per rule having different values. Now, of course, typically you won't really want to do this because if you add an underline and an overline or blank, it's going to be way too busy. So it's just going to be better if you just use one text decoration per selection. Now, our blink is going to be ignored by most browsers. Now, the reason why it's going to be ignored by most browsers is that blink can create some accessibility issues, and by not supporting the blink value, those browsers are going to be a little bit more compliant with our standards and accessibility practices. Our most common use of this property is to remove underlines from links. And in fact, that's exactly what we want to do with our project. So let's go ahead here and jump over to our CSS and set that up. Here we go. And I'm going to jump back up here to the top where we have our link set up. And I'm going to go ahead and change our text dash decoration to none. We'll go ahead and save that. And jump back to the browser here, and whenever I refresh, all of my links now no longer have an underline. Now this actually poses an interesting situation. How does the user really know if something is a link and not just formatted text? Now, to address this issue, it's going to be a good idea if we can somehow give additional visual indication that something is a link. Now, if you look at how we have this set up right now, it's pretty obvious down below that we have these things as being links because of the different colors being used. And that's going to be the most common way that you'll set that up. Now there's something else that you can do. You can either change the color of the text whenever they hover over it, or you can add back on that text decoration to indicate that it is indeed a link. So I'm going to jump back into my CSS, and I'm going to add in another rule here for our hover state. And I'll set up the text decoration to underline. So I'll go ahead and save that. And whenever I jump back in here and refresh, I don't see any immediate change, but whenever I hover over it, I see an underline. And in my mind, whenever I see something underlined, I think, well, that's a link. So this is going to be a good way for you to give additional visual indication that something is indeed a link. And with that, this concludes our look at text decoration.